So the feature I would like to develop today is what I call conditional linking. So I wrote a blog post about that a few weeks ago. Yeah, well, just 1 week ago. The idea is that I have a chess app in which there are players, tournaments, and games. And for example, if I want to display the winner of a tournament, let me show you. Here I have a list of tournaments. If I want to display the name of the winner, in some cases I might have the related player in the database. In this case I do, it's Magnus Carlsen. But in other cases I might not have that player, like here, but I would still like to display the name of that player. And so in some cases I do want to render a link and link to an actual player. In some other cases I just need to display some attribute of that relationship, or of that missing relationship in that case. So I wrote about it in more detail here, and the idea I came up with is that in the serializer layer I would have to tweak the response coming from the server so that the client, in this case the Ember app, doesn't really need to distinguish between the two cases, or it only has to distinguish as so far as to whether render a link or just display the name. And I sketched out how to do that, and I got to implement it. And I've come some length already, so I have the basic architecture, let's say, for that in place. Let's see here. So I'm using Ember CLI Mirage as my backend, so I don't yet have a real backend that supports the application. And so in Mirage, I'm doing the serialization. So let's open the docs for Mirage. And I want to show you, I think I saw it here somewhere, serializer. So if you want to override the serializer response, or the server's response, one layer where you could do that is the serializer layer. And there are some hooks that you can bind into, like you can have attrs, what attributes do you return, you can override the include for the JSON API serializer. I think there is links somewhere, yes, links in that page to tell what links you want to, what relationship links you want to return. But the most fine-grained customization you can do in the serialization layer is to override the serialize method itself. Maybe that's not written here. Yes, it is. So you can see that the serialize method on any serializer gets the object which is being serialized and the request itself. And that object actually can be the collection. So if you return a collection of, let's say, tournaments, then you return, you will get that tournament here. Sorry, that list of tournaments here. So it can be both. So what I came up with is that here I override the application serializer, and for the time being, all the other, so if it's not a tournament, I just return the resulting JSON. If it's a tournament, then I'm doing some serialization, doing some customization. If it's a collection, then I'm going through each of the items in the collection, each tournament, and I call serialized tournament on them. And otherwise I call serialized tournament directly. And you can see that in serialized tournament, sorry for jumping around too much, I have a new mouse, not yet quite used to it. So here what I'm doing is that I check whether there is a winner, and that's the case I started with. So if there is a winner, if there is no winner, so the tournament doesn't have the winner relationship, it will return null. Then what I'm doing is that I create what I call the player light So that is the resource that's going to stand in for a real player relationship. And all that I'm doing, and this is very basic, but it gets the job done for the time being, is that I assign an ID that I increment every time. And for the time being, I only need the name to be returned. So the server has this information, of course, like what is the row name of the winner. So I'm plucking the winner row name from the tournament, and then I'm just finding which tournament item, because here we have a collection, which tournament item I need to add this to. And so I'm setting this is like an auxiliary attribute. So I'm to be able to decide whether to render a link or no. So I'm setting this to false so that I know I don't have to render a link. And then I'm adding this as a relationship, as the winner relationship on the tournament item. And I'm pushing it to that list of included resources. And if, and I'm only doing this if the request included if the request asked for the related winner. So keep in mind that here we have a tournament, and if the front end wants the winner, then I'm doing all that stuff. Okay, and in the same vein, if the Ember app wants the player in the final standings, that's another use case, then I'm doing most or less the same thing for what I call the standing items. So anyway, I have these two cases working. Let me show you. So one case you already saw, that for the tournament, I either render a link to that player, or I'm just rendering the name. And in the template layer, that's the tournament index HBS. Oh, I was right there. So you can see that the only distinction I'm doing is that if the tournament has a related winner, that property I set here, then I'm linking to the player with the winner name, which is tournament.winner.name. Otherwise, I'm just displaying the name without it being a link to anywhere. So that's the amount of logic or business logic in the template that I would tolerate. Okay, so I have this working, and the idea is that I have a very similar use case for games. So if you open up names, then you can see that I have the white player and the black player. And if these are lacking, then I'm getting the name of the players from this row name attributes. So what I want to achieve is that I want to get rid of these in the client, and I just want to be able to write, white player dot name everywhere in the template where I have a game. So it's going to be something like game.whiteplayer.name. But in order to do that, I have to go back to the serializer and add some more code to it. So let's see where that comes into the picture. Let's see where that's used. So here you can see, yes, exactly that. Now here I have a few games already, and only in one case I have the related player in the database. So this is where I want to render a link. In all the other cases, I just want the name to be displayed. And if you take a look in games game, in this case I did not use the index route and template. So the way this is done currently is, I think it's right here. Oh no, that's different, sorry. So I want so if you go to one of the games, then what I looked at is this, to display this thing. But I need this template, so not game, but games HBS, games index.hbs. So here, down, all the way down here, I have this conditional logic 2 times, one for white and one for black. And so I'm checking if I have a player, related player. If I do, I'm rendering the link, and otherwise use this other property, black row name. So, okay, that's what I want to do away with. So let's see the actual server response. You can see that for the games, Mirage, for each of them returns. Of course, it returns an item for each game, and it returns, there's only one tournament which I have in the database, the Ranked Chess Classic, and only one player. So that's why there are 2 included items. And otherwise, for example, if you check the first game, you can see that we have black row name and white row name. And the relationships are lacking. Okay, so we are going to change that. So very similar to how I did it for tournaments and standing items, I need to be able to replace the relationship between a game and players, white player and black player. Sorry. So let's see, if currently I only have one for tournament, but I can do likewise for model name equals game, right? So let's say we serialize game, again passing everything in, request JSON, because I only want to do any customization, at least for the time being, as long as the request demands it. So if the request includes the players. So serialize game, so again, this can be the resource can be a collection or a model. Let's see how that's done here. So actually we have 4 games. Yeah, we have 4 games, so we have to cover both cases, just as with tournaments. So let me copy paste this. Okay. And so this should be serialize games. Okay, and not tournament, but game. Right. Serialize game. So I'm going to first, I think, copy what I have, because some of that logic is going to be very similar. Actually, since I'm going to substitute, well, let's say I'm going to fill out a player relationship if it doesn't exist, the code is going to be quite similar. And of course, I should take a look at cleaning that up once I'm finished. But to get a head start, let's just say that since we have, okay, now let's rename this to to game, because at this point it's surely a game. So that if the game does not have a white player, but we ask for it, I mean the Ember app asks for it, I think it just include white player, then that's when I have to do the magic stuff, and it's game, what was it called exactly? White row name. So I'm going to create this serialized form of a player. And so in the JSON data, I have to find the item for which I'm doing this replacement, right? So the JSON data is going to contain, what is it going to contain? I think this, right? Yeah, so the games, and in each game, yeah, so I have to find the item for which this is the serialization. So JSON date item find the game that I'm after. So I shouldn't call it a tournament item, but a game item. And has related white player is going to be false in this case. I shouldn't forget to add that attribute to the front-end model. And I can remove the white player row name, white row name, game item, relationships, yes, and here, yeah, I'm just inputting the ID that I got and the type, and just push this to the list of included items, and I don't need to do anything else for the time being. So maybe that's going to work. Let's see. So now I should see in the request, because the serialization happens in that request. It doesn't work yet, probably because there is no game item. Yeah, let's say I think I was wrong about what the JSON data is there. So JSON data, it does have an array of 4 games, and I'm just looking to find, oh, of course there is no ID here, but game ID, oh, it does not have a game ID. So wait, what's different between these two cases then? So in the case of tournaments, serialized tournament, the tournament had an ID, the tournament that is passed in had an ID. So how come here we're passing in a game? Oh, the game is the collection. So if that game off, so that's what's wrong, because if games is a collection, then I'm iterating through each game. So here game should be just a model and not a collection. So it goes wrong before that, I think. Okay, because here it should be serialized games. So that's the error. Now I have a game with an ID. So it should be able to find it. And it should alter the response that I can then check. Let's remove the breakpoint. Okay, something did happen. Well, one of the things that happened is that the names are gone, so we will need to fix that. But let's see the response, how that has changed. What I can see is that there are 6 player lights, which is a good thing because none of the white players had related players in the database. So I suspect, or I expect 4 to be added, and that seems fine. Okay, and for the relationships, so attributes, there should be a relationship to the white player, and there is to, yeah, to player light. What I forgot is, of course, what I said we should not forget is that in game I now have, oh yeah, that I should create the new class. Oh no, sorry, the player light is already done, so that should not be needed. But in here, that should be removed. Let's see what I have in the template then. It says, okay, yeah, so here this should always be true, right? We always have a related white player. So all that I have to do is that if game has related white player, I guess, was that it? Has related white player, and that I need to add this before I forget. So instead of that, has related white player. And if I do, then I should render a link to player name, correct? And otherwise, I should just, that's what caused the problem, because I no longer have game white row name. I deleted it right here. So yeah, so instead I should just display the name then, which is player dot name. Okay, I'm not sure if I should have that let, because now that it's not that hard to write game dot white player. I think that's fine. You shouldn't need the let. Okay, that clears things up a bit. Let's see if that has worked. Not quite yet, not quite. Why did it not work? Let's see here. In the data I have a game, the first game, and white player does have, oh, it does not have a name. Does it have an ID? No, so something is wrong when I'm setting up those relationships. So let's see, white player. I've definitely come in here because those player lights are being created. And game white row name, game item relationships white player equals that. Oh, I think it should be JSON.relationships. Otherwise, shouldn't it? Now here we have tournament item. Let's go back. And in the console, the response should have, in the first case, so not the attributes, but the relationships here. White player data null. Okay, so that's what I was missing. Ah, okay. So in the, it shouldn't be white player, but it should be in the dasherized form, white player. Okay, so this has worked. That's great. Let's move on and do the same for the black player. And I'm thinking about whether to go and do this in a nice way from the start. And I think we should, yeah, because those are the same thing. So we should set something like create white player yeah. What does it need? It needs the game, well, create player relationship. In this case, for white player, right? Game okay, so all that should be moved to that method. So create player relationship. We'll need the JSON, but let me just quickly copy paste that, whatever we have here. It would need the JSON. And what else? I don't think we need anything else here. Yeah, seems like we're good. And of course, the name of the relationship. So I think we can do some extrapolation here. So if we can infer from the name those other attribute names. I could pass in all of them to be to have maximal flexibility, but I think that's just fine. Let's just say, you know what? I just put it in white, and then row name equals, then it's not relationship name, but side. The row name should be row name. Then we have relationship name is side player. And the third thing is this has related thing, which is, let's say, related attribute. Has related side name. Okay, so those are the things we have to use here, right? So related attribute. This is the row. Let's say row attribute. And relationship name. That's good, and that's that. Hopefully I didn't mess anything up. Let's just see if the white, okay, I did, okay, that's easy. So hopefully we'll still have the first column names, the white player names displayed correctly. Game is not defined somewhere. Oh, we still need, oh yes, we need to pass in the name, which is, oh, we need to pass in the JSON too. Let's see, as a last parameter, and a row name. So the row name should be game white row name. And then down here, we can just say row name. All good, hopefully. No, not yet. We still need game ID. Okay, so this is starting to get, I mean, this method starts to have a lot of attributes, but I'm still fine with that. Game ID. If I would have some more, then I would probably change it to accept named parameters. What else? Do we have game here? It's interesting it didn't highlight that game wasn't available to the method. Okay, so this works now. So next is just adding the same thing for the black player. So if that relationship is missing, then we should do likewise. And that should be it. Just a sanity check that I didn't mess anything up. Yes, that's so far so good. But then I need to do the same thing for black player. So instead of having that old conditional logic, let's have the new, somewhat more. Oh, and I made an error because player is missing here. It should be game white player. And here too, it should be game white player. Oh, sorry, black player, because I haven't yet. The dangers of copy-paste programming, of course. So here, and I think that's the last instance. Right, let's see. So now the only thing that should be different is that, oh wow, that I should have a related Magnus Carlsen in the last row. Okay, so Magnus Carlsen is still there, although without the link. Oh, okay, so in the game, so two things. First is that I should have that for black player, but since when there is an when the player relation exists, then this should be true. And currently I'm only setting it to false if the player relationship does not exist. So I should default this to true, just as I did for the tournament, which I'm going to check in a moment. So the tournament record, I think it's right here. Yes, exactly. So default value true. And that should restore our sanity. So that should be a link then. So that one is good, but we still don't see those names. And that's because I also managed to mess that up here. Now hopefully that will work. Like I'm saying this for the 5th time now. So okay, so at least we have the names. The thing is that we still have the links, which we should not have. And I think game has related black. It seems to be true for all cases, which is weird because it. Oh, so now I have this here too. So now everything is a link. Why is that? Did I forget to include this? As related attribute. It seems correct. Let's see if it's actually correct. Let's see. As related. Oh, okay. So why is that true? As anyway, that's probably true too. Has related black player. I'm setting it to false explicitly. Okay, so it turns out it's the related attribute name that I got wrong. This should be has related side and then player and not name. So if we rebuild the application now, it should be correct. Yes, okay, now the only player that has a link is Magnus Carlsen, who is in the database. So that works now. That's exactly how I want it to be. We can see that now there are 7 player lights, 1 for each player that was not in the list. So for example, we have Vincent Keimer 2 times, even though that's in theory that's the same player, but we don't know that. We don't have a real identifier for those. So that makes sense. And the logic was cleared up a little bit too. What I really like about this solution is that what the backend should know is just on the backend. Because before I had to know on the front end, I had to have these raw attributes on the front end to see to see whether we have a related player or not. Now that's clearly on the front end. Those raw attributes are now gone, and we just send these from the server that has related white player and black player. So we have one more of those conditional links, which is the tournament, but that should be very similar to how we did it before. So I think that wraps up this screencast, and if you have any questions, then please let me know in the comments. Thank you.